In the previous videos, you learned how to play an iHuman case in the basic learning mode. In basic mode, patient assessment activities are performed in sequence with hypotheses, also known as differential diagnoses, selected only after obtaining the patient history, performing physical exams, organizing problem findings, and writing a problem statement. All tests are ordered at the same time after hypotheses are selected, ranked, evaluated, and corrected to those of the experts. Activities are compared to the expert at each step along the way. This mode of play is appropriate for early learners. However, basic mode does not represent how experienced clinicians actually think. Experienced diagnosticians begin selecting and ranking differential diagnoses from the minute they first see their patient, throughout the history and physical examinations, and through multiple iterations of test ordering and review. This is a more efficient approach because the history, exam, and test phases of the investigation are all driven by the hypotheses being considered, rather than as a shotgun undirected investigation. We call this the dynamic differential, also known as a hypothesis-driven physical exam. Moreover, experienced clinicians rarely order all tests that might be necessary to assess all their hypotheses. Rather, they start with tests for the most likely hypotheses, then iterate through a process of evaluating test findings, revising their hypotheses, ordering and evaluating more tests, and possibly more history and physical examinations, until they reach a definitive diagnosis. The following video takes you through an iHuman case in the dynamic differential advanced learning mode. This mode incorporates both the dynamic differential function as well as multiple test hypothesis modification iterations, thus hewing more closely to an experienced clinician's diagnostic reasoning process. The patient interview functions are the same as in basic mode. Form a general impression of your patient. Ask a few questions. Why are you seeking medical help today? Any other problems? Note the findings on your problem list. Fever of 3 days duration, body aches, rash on hands and feet, and rigors. Now note that in dynamic differential mode, you can select and rank hypotheses before proceeding to the physical exam. Select some initial hypotheses. Influenza. Lyme disease. Lastly, just as with basic learning mode, you can click on the Evaluate button at the bottom of the screen to receive a comprehensive assessment of the quality of your patient history. In dynamic differential advanced mode, you can perform all the same vital sign assessment and physical examinations as with basic mode. Check the patient's radial pulse. Document his pulse rate as 110, regular, normal, strength. Take the patient's blood pressure. (96/56). This is hypotensive. Auscultate your patient's heart and lungs. the heart has a pansystolic murmur. Add all these problem findings to your problem list: tachycardia, hypotension, holosystolic murmur. Visually inspect the patient's extremities. Document flushed skin and purple lesions as problem findings. Now consider other hypotheses. Let's add skin abscess and bacterial meningitis. Click on the Compare with Expert button to receive an evaluation of the performance of your physical examinations. Characterize the problems identified in your history, physical exam, and vital signs sections. Compare your problem list with that of the expert. Write a problem statement. Your problem statement is a 1 to 2 sentence description that includes the patient's chief complaint or complaints, along with pivotal points relevant to selecting and prioritizing differential diagnoses. Pivotal points are one of a pair of opposing descriptors used to compare and contrast diagnoses and serve to provide a context for the chief complaint. For example, acute versus chronic, persistent versus intermittent. Compare your problem statement with that of the expert. Next, review and commit your hypothesis list. You must do this before ordering tests, as tests must be associated with one or more committed hypotheses. Select tests for your hypotheses. You can find tests by browsing through the categories of tests, searching by keyword or phrase, or scrolling through the alphabetical list. Click on the test and then the hypotheses that you want to associate with that test. Let's order a few: ECG, Lyme serology, microbiology culture and smear, The blood culture is positive for Staph aureus. This suggests that we consider another hypothesis. Add bacterial endocarditis. Note that after reviewing test results, you can add, remove, or modify the ranking of your hypothesis list. As bacterial endocarditis can damage heart valves, and we did find a holosystolic murmur on examination, let's also order an echocardiogram. The subsequent tasks of selecting a definitive diagnosis and development of a management plan function in the same manner as in basic learning mode. In summary, dynamic differential advanced learning mode differs from basic learning mode in that it allows you to select, modify, and rank hypotheses throughout the history, physical exam, problem statement, problem organization, and test steps. It allows you to cycle through the hypothesis selection and test ordering and evaluation steps multiple times. Lastly, it allows you to select hypotheses and order tests that are not correct. This is unlike basic learning mode, in which student selections are corrected and updated at each step so as to prevent straying too far from the basics of the case.